standing on his sidelines wishing Marks and Spencer would do better is like watching an aspirant top 6 Premier League team sink toward relegation after spending big sums on players and facilities. There is not a household in Britain that doesn't have some affection and nostalgia for the nation's favorite retailer. But in spite of frequent changes of management and heavy investment, it continues to frustrate. Current Chief Executive Steve Rowe stressed food, only to find that its reputation has been besmirched by a Twitter campaign against overpriced cauliflower steaks, and same-store sales slipped by 0.4%. There are simply too many rivals. It is not just Waitrose, Whole Foods and Boots but also Lidl, Aldi, Tesco, and Sainsbury's. As for clothing and homeware, it is still excuses, with the wrong kind of weather in October and the decision to hold prices around Black Friday in November. Frequent management changes and the support given by compliant non-executives for gold-plated, trendy investments are cases in point. Take the current headquarters in Paddington Basin, a 20-minute journey from the group's flagship store on Oxford Street in London. Now forgotten Chief Executive Roger Holmes abandoned the headquarters on Baker Street for 2 funky glass and steel towers on a low introductory rent, which escalated to £44 million a year. Rowe is saving £17 million by closing a tower, but buyers and managers still cannot nip into the centre to see what the customers and staff are up to. Earlier this week, Rowe addressed another legacy, the failure of the group's £150 million web revamp, organised by former retail director Laura Wade-Jury. The quarterly online uplift in the 13 weeks to December 30 was just 3%. No wonder it is to spend another £25 million on trying to get it right. A beef of Sir Stuart Rose, the last M&S boss to deliver £1 billion profit, was the decision of his predecessors Luke Vanderbilt and Holmes to retreat from Europe after decades of investment in going global. Then Mark Bolan took his advice and sought to rebuild global presence. Rowe has moved rapidly in the opposite direction, most recently ceding control of Hong Kong to a Gulf franchise partner. Whatever happened to longer-term thinking? India has an infamously bureaucratic economy, so we should not be surprised that it has taken nearly a decade for the country's financial enforcer, the Securities and Exchange Board, to conclude that audit firm PwC failed to spot glaring anomalies at Satyam Computer Services. The company collapsed after a £1.3 billion fraud. PwC allegedly failed to spot 7,561 fake invoices which inflated revenues. But, by golly, India doesn't mess around when it comes to disciplinary action. PwC has been banned from auditing listed firms for 2 years, but protests that there had been no intentional wrongdoing. This is a huge blow, since PwC audits 43 of the country's top 500 companies, including Tata Steel. What a contrast with Britain's enforcer, the Financial Reporting Council, FRC, which had to be dragged kicking and screaming into a probe of KPMG's audit of HBOS, concluding the company couldn't see one of the biggest banking collapses of modern times coming. Instituting audit bans in Britain could be tricky. Almost all the big firms, including Deloitte at MITI, KPMG at Rolls-Royce and PwC at BHS, are being probed for missing the obvious. If banned, there would be financial bedlam. But there is nothing to stop the FRC garnishing a chunk of turnover, ending fat cat audit partner payouts and banning the individuals responsible for life. Walmart is doing its bit to share the endowment from the Trump corporate tax cut, 35% to 21%. With its 1.5 million U.S. employees, the biggest private sector workforce in the country. The minimum wage is to rise from £9.06.64 an hour to £15.11.07 by 2020. Workers with more than 2 years in the job will get a bonus of up to £1,000, £738. The length of paid maternity leave is to be increased, and staff adopting a child will receive up to $5,000, £3,700, to cover expenses. How disappointing that George Osborne's corporate tax cuts have not trickled down in the same way.